Raising a child with ADHD can feel challenging and overwhelming. But with the right guidance and support, you can not only nurture your child's innate strengths, but help them not just survive, but to thrive. I'm Dr. Murphy, Coach Murphy. I've been working with parents and young students, old students, for over 20 years. And in that time, I've come to certain conclusions, and I like to share 5 pieces of advice to help you become the best parent you can be raising a neurodiverse child with ADHD. Advice number 1 is educate yourself. Maybe it's reading resources, or maybe it's like taking charge of ADHD. Russell Barkley is a classic researcher and author in ADHD space, but also resources like chad.org. But most importantly, educating yourself allows you to become a real resource to your child and help them to feel empowered through your understanding and your willingness to embrace that medical condition and get to know not only what this means in general, but also how that relates to your child. Advice number 2 is focus on your child's strengths, not the weaknesses, not the deficits, not the challenges. This is hard to do because we can get stuck in the, my child is struggling, my child can't, I wish they could, and really kind of getting in that gap of problems. But problems don't build skills, so we have to focus on their strengths, their passions, their interests. If you were a passionate athlete as a kid and you're trying to force your kid to try out for all these different little programs and athletic events, and you just know it's not fitting them, but they love music and they love theater and they love dance or they love being creative, then really tap into their innate interests and build on that, and you'll start to nurture not only their gifts, their strengths, their passions, but also you'll nurture a stronger relationship. Advice number 3 is teach or establish consistent routines. Really help teach your child what organization looks and feels like, what routines look and feel like. And that's very important for a number of reasons. One is through the Journal of Attentional Disorders, they found that by incorporating routines, incorporating this consistency in your child's daily functions, it significantly improved not only self-regulation skills, but also focus and task completion, which is one of the biggest challenges for people with ADHD. A couple of tips to help you start thinking about what that looks like is create daily schedules. And this might be something that you work out with your child around mornings, chores, evenings. Also incorporate consistent, I'll say, self-regulation techniques or relaxation techniques to teach your child how to regulate themselves when they are having some spirals and dysregulation. Maybe it's breathing techniques, maybe it's mindfulness techniques, maybe it's self-talk techniques, whatever it is to help your child be aware of their own emotionality, and so that they can learn how to check themselves when they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bring themselves back down to a 1 or 2 and regulate themselves independently. And that's huge. And then involve your child in creating the routines, make them part of the process. That allows to build a sense of agency and confidence, but also a sense of ownership, which is really empowering to them. And lastly, recognize that maybe you have ADHD, and maybe creating these types of consistencies is hard for you as well, but be open to talk about that. Be open to embracing that truth, that conversation with your child. So you're in it together, right? And there may be ups and downs in trying to be consistent in important ways, but we're in this journey together, and that's also very empowering. Advice number 4 is communicate openly and positively with your child. Try to see through the challenge by embracing open communication around the struggles, and really help empower your child through just non-judgmental conversations, non-judgmental discussions to help your child feel heard and understood, and also feel like they can take on these challenges on their own. Maybe it's missed homework assignments, right? Maybe it's poorly managed morning routines where they're in constant stress and chaos getting out the door. But when you start taking the burden of their challenge, then it starts to create more tension in the family and create more tension between you and your child. So by just acknowledging the struggles with them, say, yeah, I know this is hard, but I know you'll figure it out. You look like you're having a tough moment. What can I do to help? It really helps to build that bridge, build the communication, but also help your child feel understood and connected with, especially as you talk about the challenges of ADHD, and that, yes, this is a medical condition, but with tools and strategies, I know you can do it. And that can go for any age. You just got to start developmentally at the right level. All right, number 5, seek professional support. Now, this can be through therapy, this can be through school-based interventions like a 504 plan, or even getting qualified for an IEP, or even just working collaboratively with the guidance department on helping to facilitate communication and supports for your child as they navigate the developmental milestones, but also navigate the complexity of growing up with ADHD. Aside from that, also think about what's outside of the school setting that might be helpful. That might be working with a parent coach, might be working with an ADHD coach, or an executive function coach. And if you work with the right organization, you can do this holistically, and the parent can be part of the process. So you're all working and learning together these executive function skills that can help build bridges of communication, right? Communication strategies to be effective in the parent-child relationship. And that's really important if you feel like there's a real breakdown in trust and communication. You really want to get someone in the middle of that to help intervene and rebuild and reestablish connections with our children. It's so vital to their growth and development, so we can't ignore the importance of that. And ADHD coaching, executive function coaching like services can help, but also therapy, especially working with a qualified person that not only knows the underlying factors and challenges of ADHD, but has the clinical experience to work dynamically with parents and with children. And be open to just learning together and treating this ADHD diagnosis as a journey, right? And treating the relationship as being more important than the challenges and more important than the medical condition, right? If you can do that, if you can see through all that and really embrace the learning process, the support together, you'll find that over time, the relationship stays intact, it gets strong over time, our kids figure it out. Okay, so these are 5 tidbits of advice that hopefully are helpful to you. Taking into account just a quick recap of thinking about educating yourself, really focusing on the strengths of your child, not the weaknesses, communicating openly, and really feeling like you're in this journey together, and seeking professional advice, support, coaching, therapy to really lean on the experts out there to make your journey easier. At Effective Ever Consulting, we love the dynamic role of working with families and with parents and with children as we help everybody build not only connections and relationships in the home, but build the skills, tools, and strategies to manage the complexity of a neurodiverse condition like ADHD and thrive, right? And really embrace, through a growth mindset and a holistic process, the journey. If there's anything else we can do for you, please feel free to reach out. All the best.